All right, I want to make a quick video about this budget audio system I put together. My goal was to spend less than $100 and see what's the best I could possibly do. I ended up spending $65 total, and I was able to get three components. I was able to get a subwoofer, receiver, as well as a pair of bookshelf speakers, and I'm going to go through that. I got this 7.1 Pioneer receiver. It's a VSX-516. It was released in 2006. I ended up getting it with the remote for $20, and all of the functionality still works, which is impressive. Usually receivers have about a 20-year lifespan, and so this probably only has 2 or 3 years left on it. Nonetheless, all of the functionality still works. You can run it in direct mode as I'm doing. It has a dedicated subwoofer out, which is nice. It has a optical in and coaxial in, so for digital decoding, which is nice. It also has an AM/FM tuner, which I do use the FM tuner occasionally, and it can also be bi-amped, or you can run AB speakers, and it also has banana plugs. So for $20 with the remote, with all of its functionality still working, it's in my opinion a good deal. So other thing, I did AB compare this receiver against this Yamaha NS-6490, and they're very, very, very close. The Yamaha is ever so slightly more clear, and it handles bass a lot better. But in AB comparison with the same set of speakers, it's very, very hard to pick up the differences. So what that tells me is, these are both class AB amplifiers. That amplifier technology is pretty close to mature. It's very hard to tell difference in even direct AB comparison with the same bookshelf speakers. So my opinion is if you need to put a system together, you need somewhere to cut costs on the amplifier, because there is a difference, but it's very, very slight, very minimal. The biggest difference would have been between the speakers. I compared these Yamaha NS-6490 three-way bookshelf speakers against some JBL Studio 530s, and the JBL Studio 530s just were in a different league, of course, but those are I think like $500 pair of bookshelf speakers. They can be found for $200, and I only paid $30s for these Yamahas as a pair. These lack a lot of cohesion. I have a review video on these. If you want to know more about them, you can check my review video. But in spite of them lacking a lot of cohesion, they're really bright, and they lack a lot of bass. But in spite of all that, there are some redeeming traits. These speakers are super transparent, and you can hear every last detail in the music. And I believe that's largely because there's little to absolutely no crossover network. The drivers in these speakers are nearly directly driven from the amplifier. There's only a capacitor or a resistor between the amplifier and the tweeters. That's the only crossover component between the amplifier and the drivers. The woofer itself is actually, I think, directly driven. So because of that, they lack a lot of cohesion. They're not very well controlled, but there's complete transparency. The drivers are not all that bad, but since there's nothing between them in terms of a crossover from the amplifier, the drivers are very, very transparent, and you can hear everything. Also, the speaker cabinet is just a rectangular box that's sealed and not well braced. So there's that. Then there's a subwoofer here. This is a Sony Sa-W2500 10-inch 70-watt subwoofer. Not very powerful, but you know what? Because these lack so much bass, you're not going to get any super deep bass, but it definitely fills in the parts of the track that are missing, especially in the lower end. And this isn't all that terrible either, and I've got this for $15. Bookshelves I got for $30 for the pair, and then $20 for the receiver, so that's $65 total. I think it's pretty hard to beat. All this stuff works perfectly. Nothing's broken as of yet. I think the receiver probably only has 2 or 3 years of life left in it, but to me that's worth $20. And not to mention, it also came with the remote. A lot of times used receivers are missing remotes. And then as I mentioned, I compared this one against a SVS SB2000, these against the these Yamahas against the JBL Studio 501s, and then the receiver against the Yamaha AS301. And so the SVS, the JBLs, and this Yamaha receiver altogether is about $1,200 worth of gear, comparing it against used $65 gear. Definitely the $1,200 setup is better, without a doubt, but it's not that far off. I think the biggest difference in sound was obviously the bookshelf speakers between the JBL and the Yamahas. So if someone's on a budget, or you're on a budget, definitely go for better speakers. That's going to impact your sound way more than spending more on a receiver. Spend first and foremost on the speakers, then spend probably on the subwoofer if you're going to get one, and if you're not, that's fine. And then the receivers, I wouldn't say I had trouble, but there was just very, very minimal difference between the sound of the two. Mind you, this is a 2006 receiver, and this Yamaha was purchased within the last 1 or 2 years. And not to mention, this is a proper audiophile receiver, this receiver was designed to be very clean and very clean to the sound, whereas this was designed to be a budget 7.1 receiver. This was designed to be as true to the original sound as possible, and so they did a lot with this Yamaha to make the sound as clean as possible. In spite of that, there wasn't that big of a difference between the two, and that goes to speak volumes about how mature Class AB amplifier technology is. Not to mention, this is close to 20 years old, probably about 17 or 18-year-old receiver up here. So there you go. I just wanted to put together this video about my budget audio setup. It was kind of fun to put it together. I found all of the components in less than a month, and so anybody who's on a budget, it's absolutely possible to put together a decent setup that you could be happy with. Thanks for watching.